Hello everyone. Yeah, welcome to another episode of our live stream. I'm Tobiloba, and I'm happy to be here again today, another Saturday. So we'll be using React again as we've been doing for quite some time now. But before we dive into the technical stuff, let me just do a bit of introduction. So I'm Tobiloba. I'm a front-end engineer or software engineer, yeah, whichever. And then it's actually both still, anyways. But yeah, I do front end and open source accessibility stuff. So yeah, I'm happy to be here again today with my friend and brother Ali. I think he's on this side of my screen. Yeah, this side. So
Yeah,
yeah,
this
Ali,
side.
also. Yeah,
Okay.
this side. Yeah, what's up, Ali?
So, of course, hello everyone. I hope everyone is doing great. So, let's do some short introduction about myself. So, my name is Ali. So, it's been 2 years, maybe 2 or 1 years that I'm coding, and I'm a front-end developer, and I really like to make a fancy website. So, as Toby said, like it's been a few live stream that we are going to talk about React.js. So to be honest, like I think it's going to be the seventh live stream that we are doing about React.js, like how to
Mm-hmm.
work with React.js. So React.js is a
Mm-hmm.
JavaScript library, so how to work with
Yeah.
it and how
Mm-hmm.
to learn it, like the hooks that are coming from its library and how to use them. So for
Mm-hmm.
today's live stream, we are going to learn about a new hook, which is useReducer. Like we are going to learn it by the end of this live stream, so there's no need to give information right now. We need to see it in action in order to see learn it. So Toby, what do you think? Should we go and start it?
Of course, of
Or
course. Yeah, definitely. Of
okay,
course. Yeah.
let me share my screen. So,
Okay.
as always, like before jumping to coding, like we have to show you what kind of project we are going to be working on. So this is a very simple project. We are going to use Reducer. So before I give information about the project, like we are going to use two ways. The first way, like we are going to use Reducer, and the second way we are going to use effect, because the point of this live stream is to learn what use your Reducer and what use effect is. So for a demo, like you see, we have a text and a number and two buttons. Like whenever we click these two buttons, one is for decrement and another one is increment. So when I click the increment, the number is going to be increased by one. Like you see, we are seeing the number. And when I click the decrement button, it's going to be -1, like 2, 1, 0. You see your seeing red background behind the text. Like for that, we are also going to use reducer, and we are going to say like whenever the number is being increased, you have to the opacity of background is also going to be increased. Like the more we see the number, the larger number is, the darker the background is going to be. Looks interesting, right?
Yeah, yeah, it does. It
Okay.
really does. It really does.
Okay, so for the first way, like I can say, like first section of the live stream, we are going to use just use reducer, and the second section of the live stream, we are going to use state and also use effect. Okay, so enough talking. We have to see it in action. So let's do it.
Yes.
So I'm in a new project. So if you don't know how to create React project, all you need to do is go to the terminal and say npm create vite. So we are going to use vite. Vite is a very powerful tool that we can use. Like we can use it for downloading packages. So it's very fast. Okay, so when you are done, just click enter and you will get some options. So you can choose what kind of framework you are going to use and whether you're going to use JavaScript or TypeScript. So you can choose any option and it's going to generate everything automatically for you. Okay, we done that. We are done. We already did that, like run that command. So all we need to do is run it. Run the, we can say npm run div. So we have to wait and let's open it. You see, it's a very simple project. Like we are getting just use reducer and use effect. So Toby, why not you continue from now on and explain us how to work, like how to work with use reducer and approach the design.
Yes, definitely. So based on what Ali showed us, we could see that if you could go back to the demo, Ali,
Okay, yeah,
we can't see from the demo that a couple of things are actually going on. There's the increment button, the decrement button, and then there's a use reducer that, and there's an increment button that when we press increases both the count and also increases the opacity, and also increases the opacity, I guess. Yeah, I guess it's increase. Yeah, so increases the opacity of the color, makes it thicker, 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 thicker. But when we decrement, it decrements the opacity and the number also reduces. So you're actually grabbing two states to actually control our simple application. Two states. Two states that we're going to be modifying. So now I'm just going to get started. Yeah, let's do this. Let's do what's right here. So we see that we have a introducer both there. I can use an H1 so I'm not styling much, and I can use an H1 for the number as well to render, or an H3 or something, or H2. Then I can use my do my decrement and increment buttons, and I can work from there. So let me start by doing a simple UI, and we can get it to work. Yeah. So Elliot says hello. So hello, Elliot. Nice to have you here. So let me get started by doing just a simple UI, and I'm just going to do use reducer as working with use reducer and use effect. Yeah, we can leave that header there. But let me just do an H2 here or something. So I'm going to do an H2 here. Yeah, H2. I'm going to do like a number here. So I just can just do like 0 here for now. I'm going to come down here, do button, then do another button. So I can put like increase. This one should be decrement rather. Increment. Buttons are like block elements, so they probably like go on separate lines. But let's see what happens. Increment, or is it inline block? But let's see. What do we have now? Oh, they're on the same
yeah, we
line.
have,
So buttons are
yeah,
inline block. Yeah.
exactly,
So
yeah,
so now that we have that, set up, so I'm just going to do like um a simple thing here. I'm not really doing anything too ridiculously complex. I've done the simple UI, and now what's left for me is just to grab a simple style and then wrap my entire app with it so that we can control the um the look of what we have currently. So I'm just going to do something very simple here, and I'm going to plug in some things here because I want this zero here to be dynamic. This zero in my code, I want it to be dynamic. This zero shouldn't have to be a number that would hard code. No, we don't want that. We need it to be changing as we're incrementing the button, and we want the background of something. Yeah. So let me just come here. I'm going to create I'm going to use effect use reducer hook here. And this is how the use reducer hook works. So use reducer hook returns two values to us that we need. And those values and those yeah, it returns two values to us that we need. And those values are state and the dispatch function. So the dispatch function is how we is how we use reducers to help us to make state updates. Normally you use state, you can just do you can just grab the setup function and use setup function to modify the states that you're working with. But with reducers, we have something different and next level. We're using a dispatch function because and that can actually help us to modify multiple states at the same time. So reducers are actually meant for modifying or making complex state updates that you have to use like 10 use states for. So instead of use 10 use states, you can just grab a case and then say when there's a case of this dispatch, call this you use conditionals to actually grab each of the states to help us separate which states to help us know which state changes to actually make. So now I've said a lot of stuff to explain and try to get the point across. But now let's actually dive deep into reducers and let me actually set up this simple reducer function. I'm just going to take this guy out. So a use reducer takes two things. Let me just put a comment here. Use reducer takes two things. Reducer takes two things. So it takes a reducer function, reducer fn, and then it also takes the initial state, right? So I'm just going to come
yeah,
up here and
yeah,
I'm just going to come up here and set up the function. Function I'm going to call it my reducer. So my reducer will take a state and an action, and then inside here, I'm just going to write a conditional that will help me to handle which states changes. I'm going to say if normally you see some they use switch statement. Switch statement, if statement doesn't really matter as long as they're achieving the purpose. So I'm going to say if action dot type, and now this action dot type, we're going to be sending it with the dispatch function. So the dispatch function we're going to send the right types of action so that we can now grab it here with our own conditionals. I'm going to say if it's increment, I want you to make this state update. So now we have two states now, as I told you, we have a count state. I also have uh what else? What else do we have? We have a count state and we also have like an opacity
Uh,
state.
yeah, opacity. Yeah.
I'm just going to return this thing. I'm going to return an object actually. So an object that has count here. Count. I'm just going to say action of value, right, Ali? Or action of value plus one. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Did you ask something, bro?
Yeah, I asked you something like is it action of value plus one or the action of value?
It is a state, like we are going to get the value from a state, so it's going to be object. So we have to say state dot account,
The
like
count
dot count.
plus
Yeah,
one. Yeah, state the count
yeah,
plus one.
plus one.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay, all right. Back here now. So I'm just going to say state the count plus one. And I'm going to update the other thing, which is opacity, right?
yeah, opacity.
Opacity will state the opacity. State the opacity is divided by 10. Yeah, because we are doing
Yeah,
like
divide.
a halving thing to help us grab the opacity. So a lot of people are in the comments. Yeah, let me just display the comments. So Litam says just stopping by. Hey, nice to see you here, Litam. Afam says hi guys. Hello everyone.
Hi.
So so back to coding, yeah, I guess. So then I'm just going to like an else if too, an else if to help me grab a state where we are actually where the action of type actually equals this decrement. So this should be else if instead. So else if action the type equals why isn't else if wrongly? Why is it showing red? Oh yeah, I didn't close that.
Yeah, you were using else if inside the if statement as itself.
Oh okay, yeah. Decrement. So I'm just going to return an object that will update the state. So I'll change the count to state.count minus one,
Minus one.
and I'm going to
Yeah.
say opacity equals state the opacity less than 10. And then opacity is actually a value that goes from zero, that goes between 0 and 1, right? If I'm right, Ali.
Uh, yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So I want to use a conditional to grab this. I would say if state.count equals 0, so just return, don't do anything. Right? Did you get this, Ali?
Yeah, yeah.
If state account equals 0, so just return, don't do anything. Else, help us return this function down here and then update the state. I hope this will work though. Would it work? Yes, probably work.
Let's try it.
Let's try it. Yeah, so now I can put my else statement here. So this closes here, this closes here. So let me put just my else here. The else is like our default for those of you that we used to switch and use and reduce our functions. So else here we can just do yeah, else we can just return and just do nothing. Yeah, can I do it too? I've never tried else in line. I guess return will work like this. Alright? Yeah, it should work like this, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So now I've written my reducer function and now maybe I should hand over to Ali to test it out. So Ali, you can do the honors of integrating it.
Okay, so Toby did a great job. Toby made a function like reducer, which we need this one. Like for if you want to work with the use reducer, we need to make a separate function and give them a if statement like if the type like action dot type is equal to increment, so you have to the number is going to be increased. But if the action dot type is a decrement, like you have to the number is going to be decreased. So that's how reducer like we are going to use this function. But to work like right now it's doing nothing, but for that we have to use the use reducer itself. Oh, there's no need to remove the comment. So we need to import the hook like useReducer, which is coming from React library itself, like it's a hook. So all we need to do is call it. Like it's going to give us two value, which is a state, which
Mm-hmm.
and the dispatch. For, as Toby said, we are going to use dispatch for changing the value of a state. Like it's also having a second name like updated state. But for now, we are going to use dispatch because everyone is using it. It's very famous. So we are also going to use reducer. So it's going to take three parameters. The third parameters is going to be optional, so we are not going to add anything, but the first and the second we must add something. So the first parameter we have to add this function, which like Toby created. So we are going to add it, reducer, and the second parameter is going to be our initial value. So we can say, uh, we can say it's going to be an object and say
Mm-hmm.
count is going to be zero and
Mm-hmm.
opacity is going to be zero.
Mm-hmm.
So you might ask like why we are using object, so why not use a static value like for like instead of adding object we can say the number itself. But it's also we can also do it, but because we are working in a project that needs two values, so we must use object for that. Okay. So all we need to do is to console.log
Mm-hmm.
the user state, like to see what we are getting right now. Let's console.log the state. The state is the value
Mm-hmm.
that we are getting from the user reducer itself. So let's open the dev tools.
Mm-hmm. Ah.
Let's so you see, let me refresh the page. You see we are getting the value which the count is zero and the opacity is zero. Let's change the value of count to be 10. You see the count is updated to 10. So we have to do it when we add, like when we click the button. So let's set the initial value to be zero. So all we need to do is instead of writing the zero itself, we have to add the state.count, which is going to be zero. Like when I
Mm-hmm.
change the value of count to be 1,000, it's going to be 1,000. Like 1,090 is going to be 1,090. Okay, so we have to bring it back to zero.
Awesome. Awesome.
So let's work on the first button, like decrement. So I'm going to say like whenever we click the button, so we are going to use onClick function. And as Toby said, like we are going to use dispatch for updating the state. So we are going to use that one
Yes.
and dispatch. And inside of that we have to give this a value, like it's going to be object, and the type is going to be like, if you see, like you might ask like why we have to use action dot type is equal to increment, why we have to use another action type. So this is the place that we are going to use that, like for
Mm-hmm.
this button, so it's saying decrement, so we have to use the type is equal to decrement. So it is saying like if the type is equal to decrement, so it's going to run the function and say it'll to find the function, like so right now the function, the action type is increment, so this line will be ignore. It's going to do the next line, so it is saying else if like action dot type is equal to increment, so it is true, so it's going to run this line. So let's test it, like so it seems like we are getting an error. Okay, let's refresh it. Yeah,
What
it
is the
sounds okay.
error? Oh, the
Let me
state account
remove.
is currently zero. Yeah, it's currently zero.
Okay. Yeah, right now, like
Yeah.
the line that you add, so it's giving us error. I don't know why. Like it is saying, like I know, like right now it is zero. It is zero. So it is saying
Yeah.
like if state.count is zero, do nothing. So that's why it's doing nothing.
Yeah. But we can actually say if the state of count is zero, we can just set count to be zero and opacity to be zero. Like you can do that instead of breaking the entire thing. Like just comment out that code like this.
Hmm.
Let me show you. So
Yeah.
instead of doing state of count to be zero and this, we can just do something like this. I won't comment this and I'll take this out. So I'll say if state of count is zero, I can just say my count. I can just return an object that says count is state. is a zero, and then opacity is zero. So like
Mm-hmm.
this doesn't actually necessarily have to break. So we test it out, this will
Okay.
probably work.
Okay, let's test it. Oh, yeah, it's doing nothing. That's good.
Yeah, exactly.
And also, okay, let's add the function for increment. So we are going to do the same on click. So we can target the dispatch, and the type is going to be, this time it is increment. So right now, whenever we click the increment, oh yeah, it's adding, the number is increasing. And when we click the decrement, it's going to be decrease. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
So Toby, you can continue from now on at the background opacity.
Yeah. Okay. Now, so I'm going to do something really crazy with the background. So with the background, we basically want the background to be like an RGB because and we're going to make it red. So red is what we're using. So we're going to be using RGBA to set the color because the A there they are forgetting what the A means in RGBA, but the A there helps us with opacity, so we can actually
RGBA. A for
eh?
alpha opacity. A for
Yeah,
alpha
alpha. Yeah,
opacity. Yeah.
yeah, alpha. Yeah, thank you. So we can use the ADF to control opacity. Yeah, which is much easier than us having to use the X code or something. But with RGBA, we can just do what we need, like right off the bat. So I'm just going to use the style attribute of the elements, and I'm just going to use it to control it. So now that Ali has done the proper integration, so let me just finalize the integration, and I'll come here up to this app component. I'm just going to do style. So the style attribute, the style object rather. I'm going to grab the background. Let's just the background. For the background, I'm going to do backticks because I don't want to be a regular string because I'm using a dynamic variable,
Yeah.
which is state dot opacity. So let me just do
Exactly.
RGB here. So RGB A is going to be here. So 255 because it's red I'm controlling. Let's do 00 for green and blue. Then for my alpha, I'm just going to make this guy a dynamic variable, which is state dot opacity. So and now we've properly plugged in our color, and I don't think there's anything else to update. What do you think, Ali?
Yeah, that's all. Let's check it. Okay. So right now, huh, it's not working.
It's not changing for some
Yeah.
reason. For some
Uh-huh.
reason. Background.
Oh, I found it. Like for if you see the function reducer, like the
Mm-hmm.
state opacity, so we are targeting the opacity itself, which is already zero. So that's why it's not giving us anything. So we have to
Oh,
say
it's
state dot opacity to be the state dot count itself, like because the count is the only thing that is being changed.
oh,
So we
okay,
have
okay,
to say
okay. Oh, okay.
count.
Oh, okay.
So right now,
Exactly.
yeah, because
Exactly.
the this is
So
the
that means
number that
you need to change that
yeah.
one, that condition out
Uh,
too. Okay, but I already set that one to zero. That one is not a problem. Yeah, it's not a problem. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
right
yeah.
now, yeah, it's working.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome, 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 awesome.
like let's do something like instead of dividing by 10, let's do dividing by 100 because we get to the dark colors very soon,
Very
very
quickly,
soon.
yeah, with
Yeah, very
10. Yeah,
quickly. Let's
yeah.
do 100. You see, we are seeing the color which is being darker.
Mm-hmm. Very nice, very nice.
Yeah.
Awesome, 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 awesome.
Okay, then we are done
Mm-hmm.
with the first part of the live stream,
Mm-hmm.
are we? Okay.
Yeah, technically we are.
Okay, so one more thing to add to this, to the first live stream. So I've done a step. Like you see, we are using state.count, state.opacity. So reduce it, like let's refactorize it. So instead of always saying state.opacity, state.account, why not just use the value itself? Like we can say const, it's the object, and say state. So the value that we are going to
mm,
get are count and
count and
opacity,
opacity.
which are
Yeah,
coming from the state. So it is
structuring from
the
stage. Yeah.
JavaScript. Yeah, it is JavaScript ES6. So it's
Mm-hmm.
new. It's really make our work very easy. Like we don't really
Mm-hmm.
need the state. We can remove that.
Mm-hmm.
We don't really need that.
Nice,
Now
nice
let's
refactor.
refresh it. Yeah, right now it's
Nice,
working fine as
nice,
usual.
nice refactor. Nice refactor. Nice
Thank
one,
you,
nice
bro.
one, nice one. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Awesome.
then. Are you ready to do the next part, which we have to use the state and
Yes.
use effect?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay. So let me refactorize it. Like, there's no need to remove this code. We can add to file.
Mm-hmm.
One file for reducer. Reducer.t not tsx jsx.
JSX.
Oh my god,
Okay.
we are getting
Yeah.
types. Okay,
Yeah, because of the
so
TSX. Yeah.
let's copy all the codes and put it here. So it's going to
Mm-hmm.
be reducer. So we are done with it. So
Mm-hmm.
all we need to do is to remove it. We don't really need this one.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Remove this one, and we can put the button because we need them.
Yeah. Yeah. Perfect.
And let's
Perfect.
remove this one.
It's
Let's
zero.
add zero for now, and let's remove this style as well. Okay,
Yeah.
the simple project that we get. Okay. So right now, Toby,
Awesome.
teach us how to use a state and also use effect to get the same logic to get the same design and the functionality.
Sure, no problem. That's perfect. Perfect. So let me just let's go right here. Now we're in the app.jsx. So easy, same thing we were doing before. We are just going to be grabbing two states, one for opacity and the other one for count. So we need the what we state for opacity to increase when we click the button, and we also need the state for the count to also increase as well when we click the button. So basically, same thing, decrease, increase. So now I'm just going to do something crazy here. So let me set up my two states. If I set up my two states, it's actually quite easier for me to control because when I call a function, I can use that function to increment both of them at the same time. So I'll just put an on click for increment and an on click for decrement. But
Yeah,
if we're increasing the state, we might not need to use this effect. So my idea probably would be that to grab both count and opacity, and based on refresh or something, I just want to update the state based on like increment, like changes or something. So let me try to do that. I'm just going to do const. Let's do count here, and let's do set count. Use state. Let's do like zero here for like starters, and let's set
yeah.
up another state. Opacity. So keep it simple. Set opacity. But in the long run, are we still going to need use effects for anything here? By doing it this way, because this
Uh,
way I can just do like a simple callback, a simple helper function to help me to increment both of them at the same time. What do you think?
yeah, we can also like without use effect, we can also achieve our goal. But let's use use effect
But
to teach how to use effect.
okay, so
Let's
let
use
me try
that.
to use
Yeah.
this. Yeah, let's use effect. So let me import use state first so that I won't get errors. So use state. It's not doing automatic import for me. Oh, it's doing it.
Okay,
Okay, I've import.
let me do it for you. Like
Okay, okay.
import use
Use
state.
state.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so you might need to help me import use effect as well. Let me just write it there. I'll just put it there, comma. I'm actually getting the drop down. Okay, so use effect, use state, both set up right there. So now let's come down here and let's try to use effect that will take in a callback function, right? So
Yeah.
and we want the use effect to change based on if our count and opacity change, right?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
now I'm just going to do a
You're
callback
right.
function here that would, I'm just going to do a callback function here that would help us to make that increment happen. So the way to do that would be just to do let me come out here. Let me just write a callback function here called const increment. Const should it be increment? That might not be a good idea because if I do increment, it would have to update, just be like for updating. But if I use a use effect and I'm putting in my function there, I need to write the callback function that will grab based on whatever we are doing. So
Yeah.
now my idea would be, yeah, let me see, let me try something like set count based on changes. So if um event, can I grab an event? Can I grab an event? Um okay, let me write the normal function. Let me just write the normal function here that would say outside here const handle count and opacity. So the function is basically going to be an event listener, and it's taking the kind of event, or no, no, a kind of button clicked. I don't know, button clicked or something. So button clicked will be an argument that to take. Oh, this is not a function. Const. Sorry, button clicked. I was trying to write the normal function. Button clicked. The button clicked here. So I'm just going to write a function here that will grab the button clicked. Then inside the button clicked, I'm going to say if button. So button clicked is going to be a parameter that we would have to pass in dynamically. So based on whatever we pass in, we'll determine what function to call. So I'm going to say if button clicked, I want to pass in if button clicked equals if button clicked equals increment, button clicked equals increment. I want to return and I want to set count. Set count to be count plus one. I want to set opacity, right? Right?
Yeah, you're right.
Opacity
And
plus
this
one.
time we have to use the count value instead of opacity because opacity it is zero, so it's not going to do anything, I think. Oh yeah, it's
So I
going to
should,
do.
so, yeah, it's going to do
Or it's
something
good. It's
because
good. It's yeah, yeah.
yeah. So I'm going to say else if button clicked, button clicked equals decrement. I'm sorry, yeah, decrement, yeah. So I'm just going to say button click equals decrement. I'm just going to set count to be count minus one. I want to call this function if and only if count equals no, I want to call this function if and only if count is greater than or equal to one and opacity opacity is also greater than or equal to one. Right? I'm just going to grab this guy
Let's.
here
Uh-huh. Okay.
and I'm going to set opacity to be opacity here minus one. So now that's my logic that I actually do want to set up. But then we can come in here to now try to use that function. So now we want to call this undo count and opacity function only when the state changes. But now the problem now is how to call the undo count and opacity function and then pass an argument to it. But let's see. Because no, the problem now is undo count and opacity takes an argument, and now the argument needs to be either of button, it needs to be a button clicked argument, which should be a string. So now to call this function undo count and opacity in use effect, what do you think, Ali? How should we
Okay.
call it?
Let's try it. Okay. But I don't know about the
Hmm.
function. Like there is also an easy way that we can also do. But let's try your way, and we can try.
Okay, okay. Let
Let's
me
try
try.
it. Yeah.
So with my own way, I would actually need to plug both of them here as on-click functions. And if I do that, in the onClick function, I'll just pass in an increment or a decrement argument. So based on that argument to increase them. So we are not going to be actually using the use effect in my own way. So I'm looking for a way to actually do it now that will require me to use the use effect. What do you think?
Okay. Yeah, good. That's
Huh?
good. Yeah, that's good. You
Yeah?
can try your way, and when you're done with your way, I'm going to use my way. Like we can differentiate, like to which way is good to use.
Okay, okay. So let me
Yeah.
try. Let me try. Events. Let me do events dot targets. Let me grab the event first. Event. Let me grab an event. So I'm going to listen to an event. So based on the event listened to, I'm going to determine which button is clicked. I think this is a better way to actually set it up. So if I grab the event, I can say if events dot target dot value. Can I do this? Events dot
Mm,
target.
events dot target dot
Content or something. Is it inner
dot
content?
value.
Can I do
Uh-huh.
if I do value, it won't work. Value works for input elements.
Yeah, like if you want to use the value, you also need to set the like go to the button element and add a value to it.
How would I set the
Yeah.
value? Here?
Yeah, you have to set the value as well. Like
Or
the
like
value,
this?
yeah,
Oh,
set
I
it
can
to
just do
be
this.
increment.
Increment.
Yeah.
Okay, this is awesome. I haven't actually used the value attribute on the button before. So value,
Yeah.
increment,
But it's very
increment.
important, bro. Like when you want to work with a database, like for removing something,
Mm-hmm.
you need to get the ID of that comment to remove that comment, right? So you don't
Mm-hmm.
like on that time the value is very important to know how to work with it.
You're right, you're very right. So now that I'm grabbing the event or target of value, I'm still going to need to pass an argument to my function. Hence, how do I call my function inside the use effect? That is my dilemma now. Because I need to call my function
Okay.
inside the use effect. Because if I'm calling my function inside the use effect, I need a way to not be able to use an argument at all. What do you think?
Mm, uh, let's not like I'm seeing your way. Like there's no need to use effect. You can also
Yeah, with
use
my way.
just yeah,
Yeah, with my way, there is no need to use this effect, which is why I'm
yeah.
trying to
There's
understand how to use this effect. Because
yeah,
if I
there's no
comment
need.
this guy
Yeah.
out, yeah, if I comment this guy out, my button should work fine based on what I have now. It said check the value, switch it to increment value in the button. Where is it? Sorry, yeah, thank you, Latam. So decrement, and this one should be increment.
Yeah.
Increment. Maybe your way will show us how to use the use effect to make us use that function.
Okay.
But now
That's
I
good.
need to call this function. Okay, this function is
Yeah.
not being called. Or what should I call it? Is it being
So you
called
have to
as
call
well?
it, yeah, for each
On
button.
click, on click. Okay. Undo, undo, undo. Where is it? Undo count and opacity.
Handle count opacity and opacity. Yeah.
Yeah, but I need to pass. I need to pass in the event
Yeah.
here. Event. So I just pass in the event down here,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll do the same thing for this guy.
Yes.
Let's close this, and yeah, this should work.
And also we you need to change the value of h2 element. Like it right now it is solid 0, so it's not going to be changed. Yeah.
It should be count.
Count.
It should be
Yeah.
count, and our class name for the app should be changed as well.
Yeah. Style.
So style, and then here I'm just going to do background, and this is RGBA 255.0.0, and this would be um a dollar sign here, which should just be count, right? Or opacity instead.
Yeah. Opacity.
Yeah. So yeah, this should work. Let's see what happens now.
So, yeah, let's see. Okay, let me refresh it. Oh yeah, we can see it. That's good. But we have to divide the opacity by 10 or 100.
10.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. I think we can
So,
just do this here.
and yeah,
Right.
yeah, exactly.
So you're just going to grab it in a function, make it an expression, and then divide by 100. So let's see what happens now.
Okay, let's see it. Uh, we are not seeing it. That's
For some
interesting.
weird reason. Maybe I should
Uh,
make the variable outside, then modify it. What do you think?
mm,
Oh wait, is it supposed to not?
uh,
Is it not supposed to be working?
yeah, it has to work. Let me refresh it again.
But do we need to pass the event object and like
So the
string increment?
opacity.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I think we have to divide the 100 by the opacity itself, and at the end,
Oh,
plus
then add
one.
one.
Oh,
Yeah, wrap that. Yeah.
oops. Okay. I don't know the problem. Like the opacity, so the opacity is set to be 100, and then add 1 to it. Hmm.
But it's not increasing, right?
Like it's working fine, but the decrement is not working.
Yeah, because you've not done it for the decrement.
Like the number is not being decreased.
Oh, the count is not being decreased.
Yeah, because you are using use effect like if statement. So if we remove that one, it's going to be working good. Like if I remove uncomment the if statement,
Mm-hmm.
right now it's working fine.
Oh. See the problem. See the problem. Uncomment it. Uncomment it. The problem is that if the count is greater than or equal to one, what we should be doing is count is less than one, and the velocity is less than one. It's just a logic change. Try it now.
And it's still not working.
This is okay. We can't do this. We can't do this. We can't do this. So instead, what we should do is, if the count and opacity are less than one, we should just set count to be zero and opacity to be zero. Opacity to be zero. But instead, we should just call the function normal. Try it now.
Okay, the number is increasing, and yeah, it's working fine. It's working good, bro. Okay,
Yeah.
that's awesome. Like lots of line of
But
code.
but the RGB, yeah. The RGB didn't
Yeah.
work as like expected though. It's very weird that the RGB didn't work as we expected. What do
Okay,
you
no
think?
problem. Like we can fix it. So we can say
Mm-hmm.
like the value that we are getting is going to be one. So we can come and divide it this one by 100, like the actual value.
Yeah.
So let me refresh it. Yeah, it's working good.
Yeah, that's
Fine
very
right
nice.
now.
That's very nice. That's very nice. Very nice. And we didn't have to actually
Yeah.
use the use effect. Something Drex said in the comments. So Drex said, sorry, David Okoye said, well, we do need to pass the event. Do we need to pass the event object? Can't we just directly modify the function to take in either the string increment or decrement and work with start? Or does using event object have any advantage? Event object was actually like a trade-off for me because I was trying to use the use effect to
Yeah.
make my event object to work, which I did not get. But Ali is probably going to help me out and show me
Okay,
how
so
it's going to be. So yeah, what's
okay,
your say
so
there?
I'm
Go
going to.
ahead.
Okay,
Go ahead. Go
so
ahead.
I think like you asked me to use effect. Like, can I do that right now, very quickly? Like
Yeah,
after
sure.
this
Go
step.
ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So let's uncomment this one. I'm going to create a new one. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and say function. What was it? Function app.
Mm-hmm.
and say return. So I'm going to do it fast because we are going to be we are running out of time.
Of time,
So
yeah, yeah.
and just copy paste like how to use reuse effect here. Like I haven't
Mm-hmm.
tried it, but I will try my best to do that. So let's say the count to be 0,
Yeah.
move the value,
Mm-hmm.
and this side as well. So we are getting the same design as always. So all we need
Mm-hmm.
to do is to make two state, one for count, and we can
Mm-hmm.
say set count to be user state to be 0, and let's add another one
Mm-hmm.
for opacity. So we
Opacity.
say opacity to be
Set opacity. You are not spelling it correctly. Opacity. Zero. Oh, yeah.
I'm well, instead of O I'm using 0.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so instead of 0 we can pass the count value.
Mm-hmm.
So right now it's 0. When I add something it's going to be the number.
1,000. Mm-hmm.
So all I can do, like come in here and say on click for each button. So when I click the on decrement, the set
Mm-hmm.
count like
Mm-hmm.
must be -1.
Yeah.
And when I'm just copy this one and paste it here, it must the value of like it's going to take the value of count and add 1 to it. So right now it's working fine. So right now what we can do right now is to work with the opacity. So we can come
Mm-hmm.
and target this one, the background. We are going to say we're
Oh.
going to use
Mm.
RGBA. So
Mm.
it's going to 550
Ah, I see what you're doing.
and
I see
and
what you're
0.
doing.
Really? Okay. And the opacity going to be.
Yeah.
So right now the value of
That's very smart.
opacity is set to be 0. So when I set it to be 1, we are going to see the background. But we don't want it to be like this. Like
Yeah.
when we increment
Yeah.
dependence, so based on the number, then the opacity of background is going to be increased. Like it's going to be darker and darker. So right now
Yeah.
I'm going to use effect right
Yeah.
now. Like I can
Mm-hmm.
say use effect. So I'm going to say whenever the
Mm-hmm.
value of count is changed, all you need to do is to set the
Mm-hmm.
value of opacity
Set
to
opacity.
be
Yes.
count and
Count
divided by 100. So let's try it.
100.
Yeah, it's working fine.
Oh my god, you did it in like how many lines of code? That's from 48 to 48 to
Yeah,
64. How many is that? Is that like I don't know what difference. I'm
uh,
not good at maths. But 48 to, that's
40.
crazy. And yeah, to 64. That's actually
Yeah,
like way smarter than what I was trying to do. I was trying to like grab those things and try to update both of them at the same time. But it's actually much fun and smarter. And yeah, it achieves the goal. As soon as I started it, it just came to me that, oh, I could have tried this. But then I didn't. Yeah, I don't know. This is awesome, by the way. This is awesome. Good job.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. This is better.
Yeah,
Very smart. And you did a less line of code. So look at my own code. It's too long.
yeah, no problem, but yeah, it's good.
Yeah, good job, good job, good job. Good one, Ali. Good one. So
Okay,
and
so
it
I
achieves the purpose.
just
Yeah.
yeah, we did achieve
Mm-hmm.
it.
Mm-hmm. That was
Okay.
nice one. Good one. So I said that this might be long. So the term says this might be long, but you could have another counter state that also updates when the button is clicked. Then put that in a dependency array. Use effect runs when the counter changes. Uh, that also updates when the button is clicked. I think yeah, that's what it's doing with the opacity and the count. So it's
Mhm.
doing the same thing that you're suggesting with the count and opacity. But yeah, it did like that's what you just did now with that idea you're suggesting. So you
Yeah.
said it's yeah, it's sneaky, very sneaky.
Yeah, and also like if we want to refactorize it, like in my idea, like there's no need to use effect, and also there's no
Mm-hmm.
need to use state. All you need to
Mm-hmm.
do is to get the
Count,
count and divide
count.
it
Yeah,
by 100.
yeah, definitely. Yeah,
And
that's even like way shorter and straightforward.
yeah, very short.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah, very short and straightforward. Very smart. So good one, Ali. It's like you're just using like two variables to track each other, basically.
Mhm. So live stream 22 is done. Okay.
Yeah, it's done.
So
It's done.
anything
We're
else?
almost.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all for me. That's all for me. I mean, I actually basically embarrassed myself trying to set up these effects with two variables. but,
Okay.
but yeah, it's fun. It's fun. Yeah,
Yeah.
nothing too serious. And yeah, that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. So
Yeah. So in my side, like, yeah, we did our best to teach you about useReducer, and also we use two different ways for achieving the logic of the like the functionality, like clicking two buttons for incrementing and decrementing, and we use two ways,
Mhm,
one with useState and useEffect, and another one which seemed to be new, and that was
mhm,
useReducer. So you might
mhm,
ask like why we have to use reducer. You see, like I did with use state with only less line of code, but use
mhm,
reducer you use lots of line of code. So the
mhm,
like to answer this question is like if you are working in a massive project, I
mhm,
would suggest to go with use reducer. But if in a small
mhm,
project, there's no need to use reducer because there is less value like
mhm,
for like if you're working in a massive project you're going to have lots of value and lots of
mhm,
like you have to do lots of things like changing
mhm,
value like changing the value in something else, so
mhm,
use reducer will make our work very easy.
mhm.
And yeah, that's it.
Yeah, yeah, that's smart. That's good. Good one. Good one. Good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, good one, Ali. And with that logic that David Okoye suggested, if you had actually like taken out, if I had known that I would not still use the use effect, I could have actually just taken out the value that I added to the buttons, and I would just have done the undo, count, and opacity function, and I'll just use it to. I'll just pass a string to it to help me do the if statement instead of me having to go and use the events, which was totally unnecessary. But yeah,
Yeah.
it was a good learning experience, and I actually did
Yeah.
see how we use this effect, and we're able to use how to do basically the same things.
Mhm.
And yeah, this was a fun learning experience and a good collaboration.
Yeah, it's great collaboration, bro.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Ali. So yeah, so for my end, I think that's all for now.
Yeah.
Pretty much just going to chill out and enjoy the weekend. And maybe have some fun. Maybe probably be doing open source stuff. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's pretty much all for my end. Yeah, that's all for my end.
Yeah.
Yeah, have a wonderful weekend, everyone. Ali.
Yeah, have a great day everyone, hope to see you again. Bye.
Yeah, next week. Yeah, next week. Bye, everyone. Bye.